Have you ever followed a presidential election campaign? Well, that's what we're going to do right now. And you're invited to come along with us. Here's our man. His name is Adlai Stevenson. 27 million Americans voted for him in 1952. Lots more than that will vote for him in 1956. This is a candid record of how Adlai Stevenson and the people of the United States are getting together as he goes forth to meet them, talk to them, and listen to them, traveling by plane, train, but mostly by bus. Adlai Stevenson likes a bus. It serves as a combination taxi service and office, and it keeps him close to people. But this is no pleasure cruise or sightseeing tour. Adlai Stevenson's chief interest is people, and people are interested in Adlai Stevenson. Whether they live in hustling, bustling San Francisco or thousands of miles away in the farmlands of Iowa.
We don't want farmers don't want to hand it out to them. They want to work for a living, but my God, that's have somewhere we can at least get what everybody else can get.
That's right, John. You bet.
How do you propose to do that, John?
You see, Adlai Stevenson knows how to listen. You can learn a lot when you listen to people. Listen and think about their problems, because in a short time you intend to do something about them. And do you notice? Everywhere that Adlai Stevenson goes, people gather to greet and meet him. They crowd the streets and fill the windows, anxious to see the man for whom they'll vote this year. The man whose speeches have aroused the conscience of the nation and caught the ears of the world. He covers a lot of territory. One day he's on the outskirts of a western ranch town. Next thing you know, he's visiting an electronics plant, a mammoth shopping center, a Midwestern steel mill, or marching in the downtown streets of a great metropolis as you see him doing in Detroit on Labor Day. And there are always the same huge milling throngs come to see and hear Adlai Stevenson, the man who brings something fresh and new to politics. What? Well, when he talks sense.
And the housewife should know, every one of you, that it isn't the farmer who has been getting the extra dollars that you have had to leave at the grocery store in these latter days. I say it is wrong that in this year of our greatest production, 230,000 workers in the automobile industry have been laid off. That today 1 out of every 9 members of Detroit's labor force is out of work. And that over 50,000 Michigan workers have now exhausted their unemployment benefits for the year. I say that these are sorry facts, disgraceful facts, in this richest, most fortunate country in the whole world. And I say that anyone who knows these facts and is still not only complacent but boastful is no proper steward of America's future. When the Republican Secretary of Defense looks at these facts and says that he never liked kennel dogs anyway, when the Republican Secretary of the Treasury looks at them and then proposes a 5% sales tax, when the President's assistant looks at them and laughs about the right to suffer as one of the joys of a free economy, then I say it's time to take this government away from the people who know only how to count and turn it back. I say to you that it's time to turn this government back to the people who also pay.
Somehow a speech by Adlai Stevenson is always followed by ringing applause and enthusiasm. That's because he speaks out boldly and clearly on the issues that confront the nation. He leaves no shadow of doubt about where he stands. Americans like that. Of course, there are those lighter moments, too. Like the woman who came up to him during his campaign tour and said, "Mr. Stevenson, I want to vote for you, but I've never voted for a winner in my life. Now, do you want my vote or don't you?" Mr. Stevenson took the question in stride. Vote for me this time, he said, and the spell will be broken. Folks like to carry away some memento of their meeting with Adlai Stevenson. And, naturally, his autograph is the most easily obtainable and portable. These are some of the friendly hands who shook his. Same right hand that's been gripped by the illustrious leaders of most of the nations in the free world in the course of his recent globe-circling trips. Yes, they surround, cheer, and follow him. Even when soup's on, there's an audience of his fans. Among those who come to greet him are voters who haven't yet made up their minds. Open-minded voters who ask questions that will help them decide. But of course the majority know what they want. Like this entire family group that's out for Adlai Stevenson, lock, stock, and barrel. They want the whole world to know how they feel. You'll notice there are children everywhere. Parents bring them to catch a glimpse and hear the voice of the man whom they want to be our next president. Be nice for those youngsters to say in later life that one bright day in 1956, they were standing only a few feet away from the big man. And always cameras in evidence, both amateur and professional, busily recording the campaign for press, television, movie newsreels, home photo albums, for posterity. He's photographed so often he probably hears in his sleep, "One more shot, please. Hold it, Adlai. How about that nice big smile? How about one in front of the White House, Mr. Stevenson?" There are short breaks in a campaign, and when he can, Adlai Stevenson likes to get back to his farm at Libertyville. Nice little place, and he runs it, but not without help from his sons. Even at home, there's no rest for the weary. People gather, too, around his front porch to listen to the man from Libertyville.
The Republican convention applauded loudest when Senator Bush, reading the Republican platform, said, "We have balanced the budget." This was certainly an accurate reflection of what interests this administration most. Not the education of our children, not a fair break for farmers, not the growing menace of communism in the world or America's waning influence, but a balanced budget. And Senator Bush did not say that they have succeeded in balancing the budget this year, this election year, only by postponing necessary defense expenditures until next year after the election. Nor did he say that under President Truman, the national debt was reduced by some $12 billion, while under this administration of President Eisenhower, in less than 4 years, it has been increased by some $13 billion.
But a trip home is only a lull between stops in a pressing schedule. He's off again, this time with his running mate, Estes Kefauver. First stop, Bonneville Dam in Oregon, one of the great contributions of a Democratic administration, which has brought a new prosperity to the whole Northwest.
But you know, I think what we've really come out here to do most of all is to check up on the Republican giveaway of our natural resources. And the very first thing I wanted to... I said before we came that the very first thing I wanted to do was to go out to Bonneville to see if it was still there.
Adlai Stevenson said that we went down and saw Bonneville and that he was happy to report that it's still there. But I want to tell you all something, and particularly you young people, that if we had had Republican administrations and if we hadn't had a great Democratic administration and a Democratic president, Franklin Roosevelt, there never would have been a Bonneville or any other.
Hard work isn't so bad when you can find some time for side play, some target practice, for example. And a millinery bit. He even receives assurance that the angels are on his side. The deeper into the campaign, the more the applause grows, the greater the surge of popularity that greets Adlai Stevenson on all fronts. And in spite of the mounting pressure, he manages to look fresh and relaxed.
Next president, we hope, Governor Stevenson. I was Assistant Secretary of the Navy during the last war when this plant was authorized, when we thought it was a pretty hazardous thing to do, to invest this much money in a plant way out here virtually on the edge of the California desert. Look at it now. Indispensable to this expanding economy. Everyone is happy and glad that we did it. It was a sound national investment both in war and in peace. See, this doesn't sound like a political speech, does it? By the way, I ought to tell you... I ought to tell you folks why I'm here. Because I think it's imperative that the Democrats resume the executive direction of our government in Washington. The two pillars of peace in the world are the strength of the United States and the respect and confidence that the United States enjoys around the world. Our strength is deteriorating. We hear every day new evidence. We're falling behind in guided missiles. We're falling behind in long-range aircraft and weapons of all kinds. Every day we hear evidence of the fact that our position of leadership, the moral and the diplomatic and political leadership of the world is also deteriorating. Nor have we made progress on the social front. After 3 years, has there been one single word changed in spite of all of the promises in the Taft-Hartley Act? Not one. Have there been any schools built? We've had one conference. And what about health? We're still spending more on research in animal and plant disease than we are in human disease. And there are just a lot of other things. Slums, housing, highways, all of these things that we're going to have to do if we're going to make this a better country to live in. And you're not going to do it until you restore forward-looking, aggressive, liberal government in Washington, and you can only do that with the Democratic Party, and nobody knows it better than you.
Adlai Stevenson comes to a city simply, and he leaves simply, but invariably surrounded by more friends than on his arrival. Always his visit becomes an event long to be remembered. Wherever his campaign reaches, there scores and scores of thousands flock to Adlai Stevenson's side, to the banner of decency, freedom, and peace. Now, at this moment, he's on his way to your city. He wants to know you better and to give you a chance to know him better, and to let you know exactly where he stands on the problems that concern you most. You'll never forget the day Adlai Stevenson came to visit your city.